Some news from Spain now. Eurozone finance ministers agreed to lend Spain up to 100 billion euros over the weekend to help the country's ailing banking sector. Details in this report.
Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy on the defensive. Over the weekend, he tried to deflect withering criticism for his handling of the Spain's debt crisis, saying the country had avoided a full rescue for its state debt due to his economic reforms and steps to cut the budget deficit.
Now that our partners in European and worldwide institutions are confident again, it is possible, thanks to this achievement, to reach the results we saw after yesterday's Eurogroup meeting.
He avoided using the word rescue.
Yesterday was a win for Euro credibility. Yesterday was a win for the future of the Euro. Yesterday was a win for the European Union. And yesterday was a win for Spain, as it makes it possible to soon be reaching the credit levels necessary to boost investment and employment.
Rajoy has been applauded in Europe for cheap cost-cutting to bring down the country's high deficit. But the economy has slid into recession since he took office in December. Eurozone finance ministers agreed on Saturday to lend Spain up to 100 billion euros to shore up its teetering banking sector. Spain did not specify the precise amount it will need and is awaiting the assessment of the banking sector's capital needs sometime before June 21st. Sidhant Sibal's report, DD News.
And we are now joined by our correspondent Sidhant Sibal from the newsroom to give us more details on Spain. Sidhant, let's talk about the Eurozone. We'll start with Spain. Now, we know that Spain has not right now decided on the total amount that it would need to try and tide over the crisis that they are facing where their banking sector is concerned. But just talking about this 100 billion euros, do you think it's a drop in the ocean or it will actually help the economy of Spain?
I'll probably say it is a band-aid approach. Over the weekend, the European leaders knew that next week will be a decisive week for the Eurozone, since Greece is going on for a next round of its election, since the 6th May election gave out a decisive outcome. Now, I'll start with saying that this is the 4th country in the Eurozone which has received a bailout after Portugal, Ireland and Greece. But there's a difference here. This bailout is directly not aimed at the government. It's not a sovereign bailout in a sense like we saw in Greece, Ireland and Portugal. This is a direct financial injection, I'll probably say, directly into the banks. And in this case, there is no austerity measure attached, which we saw in Greece, Portugal and Ireland, which were really painful in a sense, causing a huge social unrest in these countries. So there's a difference. And this bailout does not come from the troika of ECB, IMF and the EU. It comes from the European Financial Stability Fund or the European Bailout Fund, which will obviously transform into ESM on 1st of July. So there's a way difference between those previous bailouts and this bailout. And this bailout is actually to save the banking sector of entire Eurozone. Okay. Well, talking about Spain, why Spain matters so much? Well, this is the 13th largest economy in the world, 4th largest economy in the world. This economy is facing the highest unemployment rate in the Eurozone, much more above the Greece. And this is around 1 in 4 person are unemployed in this country. And comparatively, if we see the unemployment in the whole of Eurozone, it's 11%. And of course, all the international pressure was on the Eurozone leaders to help solve the Spanish problem, because Greece is already a festering sore on the entire Eurozone, and now Spain is adding to the woes. And the panic is so much from Washington to Beijing, it is giving sleepless nights to leaders. Over the weekend, Barack Obama said that that Eurozone leaders must buckle up in a sense. And today we saw the Chinese vice finance minister saying that he hopes that this Spanish bailout will help, but it was a kind of a tacit scolding towards the Eurozone leaders, because ultimately we say Eurozone is a very large trading bloc, and if that faces problems, it will affect the entire Eurozone, entire world. And we saw also that Kaushik Basu, the chief economic advisor to the finance ministry, also saying over the weekend that Eurozone crisis will obviously affect India.
Sidhant, you talked about that this injection of this money that has been given to the Spanish banks, it does not have any conditions of austerity measures, and that's why we're not seeing the kind of protests which we've seen in other nations, other Eurozone countries. But we know that Spain actually nationalized one of its biggest banks. So what kind of a reaction did that get from the people of Spain? Because they were not very happy with that as well. Is that right?
Obviously, nationalizing a bank means using the taxpayers' money, and obviously there were protests. Even this bailout had some mild protests in Spain itself. And basically the problem erupts from the fact that the banking sector has lots of bad debts, and bad debts emerged after the 2008 financial crisis, which created lots of bad debts, bad mortgages, and they have been festering in the whole banking system of Spain. And Spain's banking system has been very directly connected to the entire banking sector of the Eurozone, in a sense that if a bank fails in Spain, it will obviously have a directly impact on the Spanish, on the French and the German banks.
All right, Sidhant, we know that's still a developing story because Spain still has to specify whether this amount will be enough to tide over its problems. Thank you so much for joining us and filling us in with those details of what Spain is going through right now.